if we want to, if we want to get started, I think for the sake of time, we can probably, instead of doing the breakout rooms, Mickey, we can do some like introductions, the ones that we have here right now. And as people trickle in, then maybe, we have time for a few more introductions. But I love these questions that we have planned. So I really want to give that time for conversation and also getting to know, um, the real parts of of what it takes in this journey. All right, so with that I'll say, and I know you guys are all familiar faces to me, so I'll keep my part short. But again, I'm the Unlock Higher Education chair for the steering committee. We also provide not only our monthly speaker series, which are phenomenal with the speakers that we currently have had, and actually we've had in the past as well. As Mickey will tell you, our YouTube channel is really growing in that space. And then we also have the CWAC initiative that we have created starting as of last year. We've had some phenomenal speakers in that series as well. And this is a cohort where people are learning to be best advocates in their space, in their community, so that they can really bring it out there. We've done some research when it comes to state level policies and how that can be more streamlined across all the states. And this is our first cohort that we've done that. Actually, I see Terrell, he was our last speaker for the person-centered language, which is a very important topic that we have just recently discussed in that cohort. But I welcome you guys to look more into it, because this cohort is supposed to end in November, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
And
it is.
so we will be looking
Mhm.
in July and August for a second cohort for candidates that are interested in that pathway. So,
Mhm.
but definitely has been phenomenal so far. And again, thank you for joining us in this month's speaker series. We have a phenomenal speaker today. And but without saying that, I will let you guys have a few minutes to introduce each other. So I'll put it on to Marianne. She's a constant in our group. So
Thank you, Judith. My name is Marianne Gibson, and while I reside currently in Chicago, I'm happy to say I
Thank
have been
you.
in Florida for 3 months, so um, life is feeling good. I'm just as impacted, but finishing my fourth year, St. Leo University, studying criminal justice, and I've been fortunate to be a member of P2P, Unlocked Higher Education, Resilience Network, and some other really fabulous programs. So very interested in education of all kinds, and very happy to be here. Thank you for the intro.
awesome. And I'll pass it on to Norma.
Hi everyone, I'm Norma. I am from Western Mass Core. Um, I am the community engagement manager for them. Also, I am formerly incarcerated. I started off back in 21. I received education from behind the wall, my degree from behind the wall, back into society. I went back to Holyoke Community College, which came behind the wall to offer the education, became
Wow.
a student of Western Mass Core. And as you can see now, I am their community engagement manager. That, and believe it or not, that the judges, everybody worked with me. That, even though I've been home since 2022, that I do now go back behind the wall doing the same thing that was offered to me. So I am blessed, and I actually love this group here. And I'm from Boston. We snowed in with all this snow. It's a hot mess out here. hmm So
Well,
yeah,
be safe.
yes, thank you.
Be
Sorry.
careful. So yes,
And
See
give
who I
chat.
see next. Mickey. I see Mickey now.
Hey everyone, I think pretty much everybody knows me because I run my mouth at such a clip. I think somewhere I read at one point that 750,000 people listen to me running my mouth every week, which is literally 3 times the WNBA, and totally blew my mind. In this
Wow.
position, yeah, it's crazy to think. In this position, I work with communications under another title, communications or media and messaging chair, and it's always my pleasure to help you guys out and be in the background making everything work.
Great, thank you for that. So I'll pass it on to Tiffany Gibson. I think I have more. Tiffany. Tiffany, are you able to speak? I know you were on earlier.
Okay, I couldn't find myself to unmute. I'm sorry about that.
There you go.
Um, so basically, my name is Tiffany Gibson. Born and raised in the Atlanta area. I am impacted. I received my master's degree a couple of years ago in criminal justice. I am a founder of Surviving Freedom, which is a nonprofit organization that provides resources and mentorship to kids of incarcerated parents.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And thank you for the
Uh,
wonderful work. It's so important that we always include our family members, especially our children that sometimes
yes.
lack the resources necessary for this journey.
Yeah, it was started out the reason why I founded that, it was started out the my stay there. And I had a son. Well, I got a son, but he was ninth grade when I left. And when I came home, he had graduated from high school, but no one assisted him with, college application fast. So they just thought that he had an attitude, but they didn't understand what he was going through. So I'm like, if my kid went through that, just imagine how many others are going through the exact same thing.
Great. Well, thank you. I'll
Cool.
pass it on to Olivia.
Hi, I'm Olivia or Liv. I'm new to the program. I'm in the cohort 49 that just started, and I'm currently finishing up my bachelor degrees, hoping to go on to law school, get law and policy degrees. I'm also justice impacted, finishing up probation at the same time. I'm off of 7 years in the end of April. I'm hoping to work on second chance laws and all the policy surrounding them, trying to get more fair second chances, and the ban the box is a big focus of mine.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And congratulations on this cohort. And I'll pass it on to Dr. Andres if you're able to speak.
Hello, everyone. Yes, sorry, I'm off camera. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Stan Andrews, one of the co-founders of Unlock Higher Ed and co-founder of P2P, Prison to Professionals. I am traveling right now, so I escaped the snow in Baltimore, and I'm in New Orleans right now. So I'm actually in the airport, walking through the airport. So. But great to be here and very excited to be part of the congratulations of the amazing Dr. Basia Skudrick. So definitely wanted to be here for the presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Well, so did I call on everybody? I think I did, right? So yeah, so now the only one that's left is Dr. Basha. So excited to say that that I just want to let you guys know that this is a personal friend. She actually has been in my journey of reentry since I started in P2P back in 2021. I was logging in and Baja, I still have the password that you gave me. I've not changed it. And so I'm so grateful for P2P, Dr. Andres, and now Dr. Basha to still be part of this. And I I kind of did this a little bit different because I really wanted us to have a little bit more of an intimate conversation and how this journey not only, you know, the real stuff that happens behind this journey, but also the fulfillment that can be and the accomplishment. And so I don't want anybody to ever be discouraged. And so I always love to highlight those successes. But with that, I'm just highlighting the success of the PhD. But Baja does bring a lot of successes in her journey of reentry, and some of them are that. She's the NSF Bridges to Bachelorette Program Director at Howard University and Associate Director of Education and Workforce Integration at the Petey Green program, where she leads efforts to expand educational access and workforce pathways for systems impacted individuals. That's a big feat. An accomplished and mission-driven leader, she brings more than 22 years of experience driving strategic initiatives and operational transformations across education, workforce development, and supply chain management. At St. Louis Business Journal, 40 Under 40 honoree and Coral Women in Leadership Fellow, Baja has served as principal investigator for NSF funded grants in STEM education and has led multiple multi-million-dollar high-impact projects for organizations including NASA. By the way, I don't know if you guys can see, but NASA, John Hopkins, and University of Maryland, and the European Union, right? Recognized as a global subject matter expert in workforce development and food security, she has built cross-sector partnerships that expand economic mobility, foster innovation, and strengthen system resilience. Baja holds a doctorate in business administration, focused on supply chain risk and resilience, and an MBA in organizational behavior. In addition to her executive leadership, she serves as adjunct professor at St. Louis University, where she brings her research and professional expertise into the classroom. Active in both professional and cultural leadership, Baja is a member of the St. Louis Forum, the Polish American Cultural Society, and PAX, reflecting her commitment to advancing community, heritage, and leadership. Beyond her professional endeavors, she finds joy in an bar, yoga, hiking, traveling, and cooking. And we can attest to that. I still remember that barbecue. A proud mom and devoted dog lover, she is happiest cheering on her two daughters in their soccer and lacrosse pursuits. Baja, thank you for joining us today. This is, again, such a proud moment. I'm so happy for you. I really am. And, but I also know, the struggles, the journey, the frustration, and what it took for you to get here. And so whenever I find these stories, I just want to pose them out there for encouragement for others. Dr. Andres himself, having 2 PhDs, I know that they have not come with easy feats. So ensuring that people see that there is struggle, but there is still opportunities and outcome and achievements that can happen out of this space. I just wanted to make sure that we always highlight those possibilities and those successes. So with that, Baja, if you want to say a couple of words, because I know you haven't really introduced yourself, if you want to say a couple of words before we get started into the conversation. This is going to be a little bit different. Today, we're going to have some questions and open it up for not only Baja, but also you guys are able to communicate and provide questions as well as we go through this conversation.
Well, thank you, Judith, for inviting me and to the entire Unlock Higher Ed committee. It's very exciting to be a part of this conversation and just kind of, like you shared, highlighting the successes, but the marathon training that is definitely a part of getting to the top of the mountain. And as you shared, I am Dr. Basia Skudrick. I defended my doctorate in business administration in January, so a little over a month ago, and it's still resonating with me. It still sounds a little bit strange to say that, but I have to say that I am quite proud and thankful of so many faces that I see online today who kept me motivated and kept pushing me when there were roadblocks. It's definitely a team effort, and I know I wouldn't be able to be where I am today if it wasn't without each and every one of you. So I just wanted to underscore that as well.
Awesome. So if, and then again, this is going to be conversational. And if you guys have some questions as well, I prepared a few questions that I wanted to make sure that we, we address with you so that it really highlights the journey that you've gone through. But in addition to that, we'll open it up to our group as well so that they can have some questions in between. So my first question to you is, your work consistently connects education to workforce mobility. In your view, what's the biggest structural barrier still preventing higher education from truly functioning as an economic mobility engine for systems impacted scholars?
Yeah, that's an absolutely great question, and a question that is near and dear to my heart because I think we're doing an incredible job of providing education and training behind the walls and at and after the walls. However, the most difficult barrier is truly landing a sustainable job opportunity that leads to a career and to that forward movement of economic mobility. So we have a lot of organizations that are encouraged to be fair chance friendly. There are many remarkable leaders in industry and Fortune 500 who see it, who get it, who understand the importance of giving people opportunity. However, there's still opportunity in providing those chances. And unfortunately, it's not as easy as one would think after they even complete a doctoral degree. It's still, if a person is applying for a position and they look at two applicants and one is justice impacted and the other isn't, typically the position goes to the person who hasn't had any system involvement. So I think normalizing that narrative and really looking at applicants who have endured hardship and who have tenacity and who have the skill sets to do the job successfully, I think those are definitely opportunities that the workforce should consider and be more open to.
Yeah, you mentioned that because I'm glad you addressed that, because quite frankly, I feel that a lot of these fair chance or second chance hiring companies are really not giving the opportunities that are in lines with the skill set, the education, the experience that people are coming. So they may be, a lot of entry level positions, let's say, but is it really truly in lines with the capability, the knowledge, the experience, the skill set, and everything else that that person brings to the table? And so, yes, it happens quite often that you are, even when you're employed, you're underemployed.
Correct.
Based on your skill set.
Yeah, or you're given a job opportunity, but it might be rescinded because of an HR policy, or like the employer may have every good intention of employing you and who is inspired by your story and wants to see you successful, but unfortunately the systems in place still at times prevent you from being in that position.
Right. This is why I feel it's so important for us to always highlight the successes, make it more so common than not that this is a great opportunity, that this is a great way to tap into untapped talent, that this is a great pool to have really successful or equipped and skilled talent and people into your business. The more that we highlight these success stories, like the Madrises of the world, now the Basias of the world, and the more that we highlight these success stories, I think that the more they'll just see that is more common than not. It's just Absolutely. A matter of being given that opportunity. So my next question to you guys, to you is, unlike higher education, centers leadership from formerly incarcerated scholars. What does authentic power sharing actually look like inside institutions that historically exclude those voices?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's creating that pipeline together. So people who have been able to push through doors, people who have been able to get their doctoral degrees, people who have been effective in changing legislation. There's a lot of good work being done around the Clean Slate Act. It's, holding our hands together and really pushing through together because it can't just be one person managing all these changes, but if we unite together and demonstrate our competency and all the great mission work we have been able to accomplish through effective change, then we can really see how that leadership transfers through and really creates positive outcomes and economic mobility and healthier and safer communities for all.
Absolutely, thank you. And again, the group, if you are wanting some questions as well, you're welcome to explore those. If not, I will continue on with my battery of questions. And again, also thank you for always supporting online higher education. As Dr. Andres mentioned, higher education, online higher education was composed of several leaders in this space. And I'm just glad to see that we continue to be a space and a place where people can come and talk about, their successes, talk about the real challenges that they have been exposed to and learn from that. And also learn from what's happening out there in the community, because this is, I always say it, this is hard work. This is slow to progress work. This is not easy. And so any small win is worth identifying and is worth celebrating, because this is, again, so important for us to have a space and a place to be connected, to be supported, and to have that network or family that can continue to, push us on in our reentry journey. Your approach for workforce development through a supply chain lens, how can that framework help institutions design pathways that don't just graduate students, but actually land them real careers? As we mentioned before, careers that are, equitable, careers that are worth it. And so you don't want to find yourself going through all this schooling for so many years and then, find that you have like all these barriers to continue to overcome to really make a living.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a supply chain block in some ways, but I think if we remove ourselves and even just look at a product, I mean, we can even think of COVID, right? And how there was all these logistics and bottleneck challenges, even getting toilet paper at the grocery store, right? Like if you really think about every single process that goes into creating a roll of toilet paper and getting it to your house, all those touch points to make sure that something so simple in somebody's mind actually has a lot of steps to make that a seamless operation. I think that's what we need, how we need to think about allowing people to move through a very opaque system that doesn't have those transparent processes or those seamless touch points that really allow a person to know, well, if I want to go into medicine, this is what I need to do, and allow that person to truly be successful without having all these blocks and uncertainties, or very organic approaches, I would say, to either getting into a school program or landing a job that is sustainable and that allows you to live sustainably.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned, the COVID, and there's so many things that changed because of COVID, and so many things that were lost because of COVID. I mean, not to mention the human, toll that it took, but so many things have changed after COVID, and things that were working, that were good, that really were not incorporated back. And I think that there's a major loss there, but there's also been a major loss, in our current journey, I guess, if you will, with cuts and budget changes and whatnot. I was just speaking to a chaplain in my from my prior institution where I was housed, forcibly housed for one of the longest times of my, incarceration journey. And she was just mentioning that they closed the LCT program, which is a spiritual program that people are able to participate in and get some time off for their, from their sentence. And it's unfortunate because we're losing so many programming, so many good things that can be set to equip people and prepare them for the reentry journey. And things like that we're like scrambling to see what can still be done, how can we still prepare, and how can we still be supportive of those limited resources.
I think that's where mentorship comes in. It's like if you are able to extend your hand and lift that person up, even if it's to the next little milestone, do it, because I think we all can attest to the hardships and the disconnections and, wanting to succeed, wanting to move forward, wanting to transform. But it's not a straight arrow, right? Sometimes you go forward 2 steps and backwards 10 steps, and then you're like, how did I get to where I am right now? I don't understand. I did all the logistical steps to continue and to be focused. But I think that's where people come in and support network and following through. If you have the opportunity to help someone, do it, because it makes you a stronger leader and it helps that person. And in return, they will do it to someone else. They'll never forget when you reached out your hand and helped them.
I'm glad you mentioned mentorship. I heard from a very wise person say at one point that you needed 3 key individuals in your life, and that was a sponsor, a mentor, and what else, Dr. Andres? Not to put you on the spot, and a coach. Oh,
it's very true. And sometimes you interchange depending on the need of that person, right?
Correct. But I think that, as you mentioned, it is so important to be connected, to build that network and to be part of that. But if you don't know, if you lack your resources, if you lack access to the resources, if you lack the knowledge, this is where we come in and we're able to provide that bridge, be that bridge for those individuals. And I know that you worked across multiple universities, nonprofits, and national partners. What do you think, what would be a partnership model you've seen that genuinely moves the needle rather than just producing reports?
Yeah, you have to put the person at the center. The person closest to the problem really needs to be at the center. Kind of like in healthcare, you put the patient first, right? And you need to put the student first, who is navigating these uncertainties. Just like as a patient who's going to the hospital, they're, relying on providers to give them the best care, the best resources. Even when they come home, there's a management plan, a care management plan to help them and to give them tools to stand back on their feet. And I feel like that is the same way we need to look at reentry, is really putting that person in the middle and then having all the people that are a part of that reentry ecosystem feed into that person so they're not lost in a space that is very easily, you can get lost very quickly. And it can be overwhelming to that person because they're not used to a new environment. So really creating a care model that focuses on education and workforce integration together is essential to break down the barriers and find stability for people who need to move forward.
So putting, and I agree, person cared, person language, person first, right? But we live in a society that is so data driven, right? You've also led many data driven program evaluations. What metrics you think will be tracking if we want to make sure that we measure and that we highlight and that we communicate that success that is necessary for justice impacted education?
Yeah, well, as we know, money talks, right? It's tracing where the money is being invested, and if we educate society how tax money is being currently spent on programs or systems that may not necessarily provide the maximum output, people start getting interested. And if we are able to show the stories of what could potentially happen if you reinvested the money in education and workforce training programs that allow a person not to go back and recidivize, I think, that definitely is an indicator that should be looked at because unfortunately the recidivism rates continue to grow. And a lot of that is due to the barriers that people face when they get back into their communities. And I think the other is, certification attainment, educational attainment, salary earnings. What is a person making when they first come home versus a year or two from now? Are they able to secure housing? Do they have transportation? I mean, those are all measures of success for a person and for that community that they're living in.
Sorry, my throat is a little bit scratchy. I'm just coming out of a cold. But yeah,
No,
you
no.
mentioned some very important and interesting data analysis that we have to obviously for the purpose of education, it's important to highlight. And I know that, for example, programs like the Bridges to Bachelorette creates models like that are very helpful and that
Right.
shows a community the success. So tell me a little bit about the Bridges of Bachelorette model and that creates the structured pathway from associate to bachelor's to the workforce.
Yeah.
What lessons do you think that can scale nationally in that program?
Yeah, I think it's a proven model. So we take scholars from prison cells to PhD. People apply for the program, and it's a selection process to see if people are committed to rigorous education and training and research. And we have 4 students per cohort that go through this program. They start out at Baltimore City Community College for 2 years. And then they transition into Howard University by obtaining a STEM degree. And this program is remarkable because, again, it's founded on mentors, on teachers, on researchers, on different administrators. It's a care model, kind of back to what we were saying. We're very focused on that person, and we provide them the services they need to succeed in education and as they move forward in their career pathway. So it's a 4-year program. And then upon completion, they have a degree from Howard University, which is pretty remarkable. And they're exposed to, leading researchers, a support system, people, many of the students have shared that they have never been so inspired by some of the researchers during their summer research programs and looking at education from a different lens and perspective and how it gives them passion and motivation and how they are finally able to accept and see themselves in those positions as well. So seeing that other people believe with them also is part of the secret sauce to the success of the program.
Wow, that sounds phenomenal. And I just wish that there would be more opportunities for programs like that across the nation. Do you know of any that are still being done now? Are there
So
eligible?
unfortunately, they're all being phased out. So like you shared, I wish there was more opportunity. I know the BERT grant is one that is now coming up, which is up for an RFP, which is nice to see. But there's definitely opportunity to invest in more programs like that that help people get to where they really want to be at.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because these programs do help. These programs do provide you that lifeline that's necessary for you to succeed. Excuse me, succeed in this never-ending reentry journey. And in your journey, Baja, if you were to give us a story of what that journey took you to where you are today, and having your PhD, being called doctor. I know you're not used to that yet, but you certainly well deserved. If you can walk us through it and give us a kind of like a little mini movie and the challenges that you faced and how were you able to overcome them to successfully sit here today and say, I accomplished this.
Yeah, I mean it's very surreal. It's kind of like imagine looking back at your life 5 years ago to where you are now. I don't think you would ever imagine being where you are now, right? So we tend to connect all the dots post accomplishment, and not really knowing what that journey looks like as you are in it. It's kind of like working out, right? In the beginning, it's hard because you're using new muscles, you're using new exercises, you're using new language. You're in a new environment that also pushes you to limits that, you're like, oh my gosh, why did I even decide to go in this direction? This is a lot, right? But again, you have a support system, your student colleagues, your faculty, the environment around you, your family obviously is a huge support system. That sees that potential in you and really wants you to succeed. And for me personally, it was something that I always wanted to do in my life. But it was bad timing. I couldn't accomplish it at that time. So that was one goal that I set out for myself. I said I was going to do it because no one can ever take that education away from you. So that is one thing you can control and do for yourself. And that's why I highly encourage people to do it because it is self-fulfilling. For me, I feel like a part of my identity has come back because I knew I had to work hard for it. I didn't just show up and get a DBA. I knew I had to really work hard and stay focused in order to accomplish such a milestone.
I'm glad you mentioned identity because, you know, when you're, and this is why I call reentry is reinvention, because when you're coming home, for many of us, excuse me a second, guys, I'm sorry. For many of us, reentry has been a forced reinvention of our own identity, especially if you're coming with, a historical past of, let's say, professional experience. And now you come home and you really need to pivot and think elsewhere, look outside the box and think outside the box and look elsewhere as to how you can really reinvent yourself and still be, um, you know, fulfilled
Right.
fulfilled not just professionally but also internally, and see yourself as somebody that still has value and that somebody that can still produce success in this space given your biggest challenge or impediment, which is usually the background. And speaking of challenges and barriers, what would you identify to have been your biggest barrier to this journey? Like what that moment, I'm sure, we all, consider that our background, and our conviction is usually the
Yeah.
biggest barrier, but that moment where you felt, that scenario where you felt this is really a large challenge for me.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have imposter syndrome, right? I think it's all in your mind sometimes, but I do recall going to campus at first and I'm like, oh my gosh, is everybody looking at me? Do they all know about my story? What do they think of me? Am I going to be judged by my past? Or will people be curious and open to welcoming someone who maybe not has not traditionally been welcomed in an academic space like this. And I have to say my program was extremely welcoming and very I mean, to this day, very supportive, and they wanted to see me succeed. And we navigated barriers together. There were opportunities for employment as well that unfortunately were not fulfilled because of workplace culture. But I still, the support from the people from my academic institution are, one of a gift that I cherish, and experiences to see how we can connect as people and not being judged by circumstances that are beyond our control. So, really focusing on that humanistic connection and learning from each other, I think was one of the most beautiful experience I had through my doctoral studies.
That's awesome that you share that, and that you share the support that you receive from your academic institution as well. Not all of them are that supportive. That's why it's so important to
Yeah.
always be with, surrounded by those who are really
Good
there
people.
to lift you.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And people
So,
that follow through and really see that potential, and to your point, like those coaches, you have the coaches, you have the tutors, you have the mentors, but people who really mean what they say and follow through, because that's how trust is created. And same thing on your end, right? Like you have to deliver as much as the people who are opening these doors are delivering for you.
absolutely. And I think we have yeah, and and right on time, we have Marianne asking a question on that part of it. So go ahead, Marianne.
Yeah. Basha, I was going to ask you, tailing on the comment that you were just talking about, the support from the institution. And what I'm curious about is, institutions are looking for pathways for jobs as well for their business, because without jobs, they are eventually facing big challenges and not irrelevancy, but I mean, they're in business to get jobs
Right.
ultimately for their students. So, taking St. Louis as an example, and I'm originally from St. Louis, so um, I think Bosch, you and I were both in the St. Louis Business Journal at some
Mhm.
point in not so favorable light. But how does the universities connect? Like Boeing is moving back to St. Louis,
They
so
are.
corporations. It's been difficult for a city like St. Louis to even attract corporate employers. So, how does the university, or is there an opportunity for the university to lean on, the corporations who, give them really good lip service and perhaps a lot of,
Yeah.
support, but yet the connection between them and jobs, how can that be leveraged?
Yeah, I can tell you systems change takes time, and it's hard. It's not easy. But I think once we get more people into spaces, people see it and feel more comfortable with it. And so it's just a matter of continuing to be stubborn and pushing forward, and showing people that we are just like any other person, and we should be considered because we've survived and endured a little more maybe than your typical applicant. You want people like us in the boardroom because we don't give up. We're very solutions oriented. We're driven people. And I think once people see that, they're like, yeah, we absolutely need people like this in our workplace system. But
I mean,
it's
will the academics put their reputation on the line and lean on the
It
corporate
depends.
CEOs
It
to
depends on
mandate?
who. It depends on
Yeah,
who. It definitely starts with influence. It
yeah,
definitely starts with people from the top. And we've made progress. We
yeah,
haven't been, achieving it consistently, but we have been able to see
yeah.
movement, and I think that's
I'm
important.
I commend you and thank you for taking that role, because you've got a chance to bridge between the two,
Right,
because
right.
the education has to go somewhere.
It does. And I think a lot of people don't realize the barriers that we go through, and when you start establishing that trust and sharing a little bit of your own personal experience, people are like, well, that doesn't make any sense, or, why is that happening? So I think it really starts at a conversation. That communication piece is really important. And listening to everybody's point of view, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think as long as we respectfully disagree, we
sure.
can create some type of movement or solution for people who really want to move forward in their lives.
Well, thanks so much for doing that work. And St. Louis needs it. I mean, the nation needs it. But yeah, you're in a
Thank you.
great position to make to make change. Thank you.
Thank you, Meg.
Very proud of you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And for those, just want to close with this, for the leaders listening who want to support higher education access, right? But don't know where to start. What's the first action that can actually make a difference? What's the first action they can take that can actually make a difference?
Are you asking me, Judith, or?
Yeah, I'm asking
Okay.
you.
Okay. I think it's self-acceptance, seeing yourself in that space, because I think if you question yourself or you're not completely confident in achieving that milestone, it's going to be more difficult for you. So you have to really envision yourself being in that space from the get-go, and reminding yourself that that is where you want to be. And I think when you start putting yourself out in that environment and having that self-acceptance of saying, hey, I am capable and I should be in that space, you get closer to your target.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, as you mentioned earlier, with the imposter syndrome and everything else that we go through. It's so important to have that self-acceptance, and to really understand that we still have value and that we still have skills. I know that it's mentioned that we have like over 44,000 barriers to reentry. Have found that the biggest barrier to reentry could be our own selves.
It is.
If we don't have that sense of perseverance, resiliency, and everything that needs to be in place, that emotional intelligence that needs to be in place to continue to push forward, to push on and overcome. Otherwise, you will become paralyzed and
Yeah,
be your biggest barrier and lose out on a lot of potential that you could have brought up to the table
100%.
because
100%.
if anybody else have any more questions for Baja, now is the time. Okay.
So I don't have any question, but wanted to just jump on and say congratulations to Dr. Skudrick. I have just been, it's been a pleasure to kind of be along that journey. And I know, I remember the applications you were putting in and the various places you were considering. And the challenges in that process. That what I know we're out of time. I was thinking that that was gonna be one of the questions I was asked, and if you had time to answer, feel free to, but you don't have to. But because I can recall you applying for several different places, and you know, and you're at Umsel is where you finished up, and I don't know if you wanted to speak to that, but I know the answers to it. It would be mostly for other people to hear it. But I just knowing all that, I think just want to congratulate you for your resilience. And it's not easy. And sometimes I hear our scholars say things to about me and about people like yourself that we make it kind of look easy, but we know it's not easy.
It definitely
Um,
isn't. Yeah, yeah.
Me and
Yeah.
you are on early morning calls, and it's already early, and you'll be telling me, yeah, I've been up for like 2 hours already. And
Yeah.
as well as, raising two amazing daughters. So just want to commend you and congratulate you.
Thank you, Stan. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your mentorship and giving me the confidence to kind of move in a direction like you've created for so many of us. But like, to your point, I know that you were able to land at the schools that you completed your education due to one person, right? There's always that one person who magically somehow opens that door, right? When you are like, this is not going to happen. And that's what happened in my situation. I was attending conference when I was still doing work at St. Patrick's Center. And believe it or not, the name of the conference was named Convergence out of all conferences. And the dean at that time heard my presentation on the workforce pipeline we were creating in St. Louis for the unhoused population. And she just approached me and she's like, "What are your short-term and long-term goals?" And I was sharing with her that I was in the process of applying for all these other programs. And she's like, "Well, I think you need to stop applying for those programs because I'd really love for you to be at our university." And, Stan can attest to this. Applying for all these programs take a lot of time and there's a waiting period. And because of her, I was able to get a pretty quick acceptance because of the potential she saw in me and the value she saw that I was bringing to the academic institution at UMSL, which was like a blessing and a miracle all at the same time.
Thank you for sharing that. That's as you mentioned. I mean, I think we need those people, and I think so many of us on this call are those people. Are that person to so many other people in our space, and that has been kind of hit on in the conversation today, on like the value of what it is for you to be the person you are, because you will open doors for someone else, just like that person did for you.
Yep. Yep. It's, I think, our responsibility, right? When you have that chance to help someone's life change immensely, it's fulfilling to that person and to you too, knowing that you were a part of their success.
Right, that was wonderful. And Dr. Andres, as I mentioned earlier, always remember you saying that you need three key individuals in your reentry journey, and that's the mentor, the sponsor, and the coach. And it seems that Basia has been able to identify those and see the results that happens when you have a community like that in place. Those that are there to lift you up and to support you in this journey. With that, Basia, do you have any last words before we close out the session?
Dream big and don't give up. You have to keep at it. Even when you achieve your milestones, it's not always perfect, so you have to just keep your eye on the ball and keep looking at opportunities and sometimes looking outside of the opportunities that, you thought were available.
Right. Well, thank you guys. If you don't have any more questions for Basia, we can definitely want to thank you for joining us today, letting us know your journey, your challenges that you were able to, obviously, as we can see, overcome, the work that you have put forth for those that are coming behind you, because again, one door that one of us open is a door that will be opening for the rest of us to come through. And that's why it's so important to always highlight those accomplishments, big or small, because this space is hard work. It's not easy to come success work. And so that's why we want to, number one, highlight, number two, support, and number three, to be a bridge for those to continue on, achieving those successes in the reentry journey. And with that, again, thank you for joining us. Don't forget about our upcoming events with the Horizon in the Horizon and NCHAP as well. And so if you haven't looked into the possibility of joining those communities and those seminars, please, I urge you to look into it. They're phenomenal to be connected, to build your network. Again, this is a family that you need to have around you to be able to overcome this journey. What they say, 44,000 barriers. But if you are, connected with a good network and a good family, you can become that success like Basia was able to do. All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. See you soon.
Bye, guys.